Oh, he was a redshirt. Damn. Oh, never mind. I saw the Western's running back. I saw scrimmage yards, and I thought that was his receiving yards, and it showed over 1,000 yards. Did not think that was correct. All right, so
all right, the link has been posted on Twitter. Make sure it works. It does.
And then will we be able to see? There we go. There we go. For everyone streaming in, we will be starting the podcast here in a couple minutes. We're just going to try and give it some time. But we will be answering questions hopefully throughout the podcast. We're going to do a little pre-show here. We're going to record the podcast. Then we are going to end the podcast so we can that can be our clean posted version. And then we'll do a quick post show as well. So that way we can interact with everyone. Tyler and Brian, I think you guys are going to want to access the PFF throughout the year. I do think it'll be nice.
Yeah.
Tyler, I was just showing Brian. There's different lineup stuff in PFF. I can just share this now since we only have a couple people in here. Thank you, JJ McKay. Appreciate it. We've been trying to expand just some of our offerings and bring you guys something a little bit different and a way to interact with you. It's been a lot of fun leading up to the season. I know we're all fired up for it.
YouTube's looking pretty good, huh? This whole live stream thing, it's kind of nice.
So Higby, essentially, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So essentially, you can go. This is a cheat code here that we can use going forward. It'll show everyone's PFF, what to expect.
I like that.
It's kind of a nice little thing.
It's a nice little cheat code.
All right. Brian, did you go retweet it? The link?
I did.
All right. I don't know if I did it yet.
See if we can get to double-digit guests.
Yeah, come on. Get some folks in here.
Hey, it's already going better than the last.
Yeah.
The free version of StreamYard does not cooperate very well. I had to do a little upgrade.
What did everyone? You know what?
I didn't know there were some games tomorrow too. There's 5 games tomorrow, and they're not bad.
Not a bad slate tomorrow.
I'm to watch the Nebraska game.
Yeah, I did not know that was tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pat Mahomes Jr. rolling into Arrowhead.
How do we feel about the uni combo for week 1? I like it. I feel like I'm more of a little traditional. I would have appreciated, I think, just the classic, but I like the white helmet. Did you guys see it?
I missed that. What are we rocking?
It's just white, green, white.
Okay, that's fine. That was one of my favorite ones, but I always like starting the year with just the green, white.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, Dante. I guess both of y'all, but I don't mind it. Green on white's a given for the first game.
Yeah, you can't go anything too crazy. I wouldn't. There's different things I feel like that we can do with the black, but I don't want anything to be in there in the rotation that much. You know what I mean? We talked about, I feel like you could do the black jerseys with the white pants and white helmet, but You just got to keep it traditional. We got good jerseys as it is. All right. Cedric Griffin Jr.'s son. Oh, at Stanford? Yeah, I had no clue Stanford was playing Hawaii last week either. That program was a disaster.
Well, you didn't miss much in that game. I'll tell you that. Stanford can't be losing to Hawaii.
No. That's a disaster over there. All right, you want to get going here and
let's do it
in a minute.
Yep.
Oh, the bronze helmet. I might be in the minority here, but I don't love the bronze helmets.
See, I kind of appreciated them, but I don't know. I don't like when we mess with our uniforms just in general. I really don't. Like that for a one-game sample, I feel like
in the country. I feel like.
Did we mean to pin that comment on the screen?
I did. Want to show my guy some love for asking the question.
Stu Redmond.
Yeah, agree. Traditional. All right, let's Tyler, you cue us up with the music. Brian, you cue the screens up. And for everyone here in the chat, we're going to get rolling here in a minute, and we'll roll through it. We'll try and answer some questions here if you got them throughout the pod. If you want to ask us about some of our experiences week one, I think that's the majority of what we're probably going to hit here today with the state of college football being what it is and not knowing a ton about teams year in and year out, especially these, mid-major teams that are essentially flipping over every other year. So we'll get into it and have some fun.
All right, Tyler, ready whenever you are with the music.
Hello and welcome to the You Are the Program podcast. It is week one pregame show. We are live on YouTube right now. For those of you that are not joining us live and will be listening to this audio version or watching on YouTube, we hope to be doing this a lot more often, interacting with you guys. So if you're not in the chat today, if you're missing the stream today, don't worry. I'm sure this will be something that we do going forward. As always, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast or wherever you watch your podcast, if it's on YouTube. We really appreciate the support, and we're trying to continue to push this podcast and give you guys something a little bit different every week as we go out through this season. So without any further ado, it is 2025. It is week one. It's not week 0. It's week 1 now. We made it. How are we feeling today, Mr. Brian Lewerke, Mr. Tyler Higbee, as we are under 48 hours until kickoff?
We're feeling very, very good. Dante, we are in week 1 officially. We had a little appetizer last week with some games that were all right. Watched some fun ones, but we have the Michigan State Spartans coming up this Friday night. Excited to kick it off against Western Michigan. Week 1's always awesome because you start on a clean slate and you just kind of wherever the road takes you, you can kind of choose your own direction. So I'm excited to get this season started.
I feel like it's been a long time coming. I mean, we talked in the last season, didn't end the way we wanted to, and here we go. Less than 48 hours, another season. I mean, I think we'll get into it, but the first game's always just it's a special feeling.
It is really hard because I feel like there are times where you get into week 1, and I remember specifically like in 2017, after a bad year, when we came off the 3-9 year, that week 1 game has a lot of jitters. And I'm sure for a lot of the guys that are in the locker room, because what's rare today, right, in 2025 is that there are a lot of guys, and we've talked about it in the Michigan State preview pod, that are carrying over from last year's team, and they still have the taste in their mouth from last year's game, right? Or last year's final game against Rutgers where they get blown out. And you have a lot riding on week 1 because you want to make sure that the off-season work, the spring game or the spring practice season, the winter conditioning, all of that was worth it for week 1. And there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit of jitters. I remember going into that Bowling Green game, I didn't really know what to expect. Brian, that was your not first game starting, but it was your first season knowing you were going to be the starter leading up into that. So you guys, and Tyler, I think you were also starting that year, right?
Yeah.
17, yeah.
So you guys kind of talked to us about what 17 was like in terms of that off-season preparation, all the work that we had put in, coming off a disappointing season the year before, but then what was kind of going through your head as you walked into a Bowling Green game where obviously we knew we were going to win that game. We felt confident about it, but you're coming off a bad season. Like what was your mindset going into it, being a starter, knowing what you were going to expect week 1?
Yeah, it was my first year starting. Obviously, like you mentioned, we'd come off a bad year in 2016. Personally, I had gotten injured in 2016, leading up to 2017, as our good friend Bryce liked to point out in the comments. So I was coming off a little bit of an injury. Obviously, you're hyped for the first game. You have all the off-season work, all the summer workouts, the early mornings, the camp grind. It all pays off for week 1. Obviously, we want to get a win every time we play, but week 1 is a little more special, I feel like, because you have a completely clean slate. You kind of control your own destiny, and everything's on the table. Like your only goal is to go 1-0. Obviously, every week your only goal is to go 1-0, but especially the first week, as it kind of starts the season off on the right foot. So a little bit of nerves, a little bit of jitters, but once that ball's kicked off, you get your feet on the field for the first time. It kind of goes away a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Brian, I was hurt too. The 16 off season going into 17 spring and 17 summer, I was good to go. But like Brian said, especially tomorrow for these guys, like you start seeing the tailgates getting set up. You start feeling the buzz around campus a little bit. Everyone's hyped. Everyone's excited. I mean, you helped Coach Smith hand out the student section T-shirts last week. Like tomorrow is when it really starts sinking in. You have your day before meetings. You have your pregame meal. Tomorrow night is when the jitters really start getting there. I remember I didn't sleep a whole lot the night before that first game. I mean, you're just too excited. And then the worst part is having to wait around all day for the night game. Night games are great once you get there, but once you wake up, it feels like it's the longest day in the world, trying to wait around until about 3-4 o'clock when you finally make that walk over to Spartan Stadium.
Especially that first game too, being a night game. That's kind of tough.
But it's all worth it once you get to the stadium, because once you get to the stadium, it goes by fast. You're damn near going back into the locker room. It feels like once you get there after warmups.
Yeah, I mean, week 1, and that's where I was going to transition to next, was just week 1 in general, and even more so now, is kind of a bag of unknowns. And as you go into 2025, when half of these rosters are turning over, it makes it even harder. I know I was listening to Brian Lindgren, the offensive coordinator, and Joe Rossi talk about when they're watching tape on teams. Western Michigan has a first-time defensive coordinator right now. So they've never seen him call a defense. Putting together game plans, looking at film is probably the hardest, or definitely is the hardest it is in week 1, because there's so much now in 2025 that you can't carry over, whether it's personnel, whether it's coaching style, coaching schemes, anything like that. But in general, you guys talked about it, kind of those first game jitters go away once that ball is snapped. But how much sweeter is it in terms of fall camp? You go through fall camp for 3-4 weeks and you're hitting each other the entire time. It feels like it takes a year to get through fall camp. It's practice every day. It's meetings all day. you're just going through the meat grinder, and then school starts this week, and all of a sudden you are in game week. You are in game prep, and you finally get that opportunity to see someone else line up across from you. I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit and see kind of what our opinions were on you go from camp and then you finally hit the season. Like week one in general, typically you're not playing a huge opponent, or at least Michigan State hasn't in a long time. I can't remember the last time week one was a big game for Michigan State, but there's some other schools like Ohio State, Texas, where the stakes are pretty elevated. But the excitement and the build up to week one, whether it's the fans, and Brian, I know we just contributed to a piece regarding the walk, right, in week one and what that's like. But talk about the excitement of week one, because even though the game's not a huge game, it just feels so different, and it's a satisfying feeling, but it's also a real feeling when you get to week one and you come out of camp.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that you mentioned there was kind of the unknowns of, well, like what kind of defense or what kind of offense you're going to face. Like you have film from December of 2024 that is over 8 months old. There's going to be a completely new roster you're going up against, depending on what team it is. It could be some similarities and same faces there, but for the most part, there's going to be some different guys that you have to watch some film on and game plan and not really have a lot of film to watch on them. So it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of in-game adjustments in that first game where you have to kind of react and figure stuff out. The first half, you're kind of just figuring out what kind of defense they're running. Hopefully they're running something similar to what you game planned for from their previous year. If they're not, you make some halftime adjustments. You and the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach, as a quarterback myself, and go out and kind of try and do different things in the second half to attack what they're doing. So it's a whole big learning curve in that first game, but it goes pretty quick because you gotta figure out what they're doing.
How many more in-game adjustments are there week one versus, let's say, week 5, week 6? Does it feel like, is it tangible? Do you notice it? Is there a lot more communication going on between, you on the field and the coaches that are in the press box?
I think it depends a little bit on the type of opponent you're playing. If you're playing like not such a big game or a bigger opponent, you kind of do what you do. You don't make too much adjustments because you know that what you're doing is eventually going to work. You're maybe a little bigger, faster, stronger, and you can just make it work. If it's one of those big games like you mentioned, Ohio State, Texas, where both teams are vying for a national championship spot, you got to make some adjustments quick because week one, it still counts as a loss on your schedule come week 12. So depending on the team you play, you could be making a little more adjustments in week 5, week 6 than versus week 1. But yeah,
I feel like a lot of times too, especially for the first game, everyone's so jacked up. You don't really need to change a whole lot. Everyone's just a little too amped up. Guys are excited. Guys are making bonehead mistakes that they normally wouldn't do, stuff they hadn't done all camp. And I'll tell you one thing, as crazy as it sounds, I know when we were in camp, I was counting down the days till when school started, because I know when school started, we were that much closer to the season, and that meant we got to hit somebody else. Because those first 2 scrimmages in fall camp, I know the first one was at like 120 plays or something ridiculous. What are we doing? Yeah. It makes sense. Like, you got to get the reps in. Everyone's got to get reps, but
young bodies, you're good.
Yeah, it was sure something like that. But it was nice to finally hit somebody. And I know when school started, that was like, okay, we made it.
How much money would someone have to offer you right now to do a 120 play scrimmage? Right now,
I'd do it for free.
I'm sure. I am sure you would. I am sure you would. I mean, my spine would be snapped in half like a graham cracker if I did that. All right. Enough talking week 1. Let's talk a little bit about the game that we are here to talk about, and that is Michigan State and Western Michigan. Week 1, 2025. For us, I feel like as a podcast, this has been the longest lead up for sure that we've had. Typically in the past, we've tried to do 1, 2, maybe 3 preseason pods. But I feel like that's put us in a decent spot in terms of feeling ourselves around the Big Ten. And additionally, paying attention a little bit closer to some of the news and stuff coming out of Michigan State camp. But It's definitely been a long lead up, and we're very excited and ready to get this thing rolling. So let's get into a little bit of the game lines for Friday night. Michigan State is a 21-point favorite. This has gone all the way from about 17 points all the way down to 21. So a 3-touchdown favorite at home and the over-under of 49.5. I remember last year when we're talking about the first game, and for us, I mean, we just talked about what we don't know about Western Michigan, right? That was us last year, not knowing a ton about Michigan State in terms of Aiden Child's first time starting quarterback, Jonathan Smith's first game. None of it was familiar to us. And we saw how that went. It was a pretty poor performance, very sloppy. And that's what I think we can expect again on Friday night, maybe to a different degree. But I feel like that first game always, Brian, to the point that you had brought up earlier, first games are typically a little bit sloppy. So overall general expectations before we talk a little offense, before we talk a little defense, what are you kind of expecting to see on Friday night, just in a general sense? And what do you hope to see out of the team on Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some jitters before the game. There might be a little bit of sloppy play, but I feel like a well-coached team is able to get over that and kind of get that out of the way. Maybe in the first drive, maybe it doesn't even happen the first drive, and you're able to kind of overcome that pretty quickly. But you got to get that out of the way and fix any mistakes that you are making, any nerves that you have, and just kind of right the ship and get this ball rolling a little bit.
Honestly, I'm kind of expecting this team to get off to a fast start. I know we didn't say that a whole lot last year, but I think that was a point of emphasis in the offseason this year. And we've talked about the guys they've added to this offense. I'm expecting this offense to get to a hot start, put up some points early, let the defense fly around, play some confidence, and not have to worry about making a stop or getting a turnover every possession.
One thing I'll add that I do want to see, and this is kind of maybe get into the offense a little bit, but I want to see a deep shot on the first drive. Maybe not the first play. Actually, not the first play, because the quarterback, Aiden's going to be so hyped up. No. Aiden's going to be so hyped up, he's going to throw it 20 yards over the receiver's head. So maybe not on the first play, but after the first down, I want to see a shot play.
Especially not after last year, his first throw resulting in an interception.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal.
But I think that's a great point because in general, Aiden Childs, I feel like, took a lot upon himself at the end of last year. When he had the post-game press conference, he's talked about it a little in his media availability, talking about how he wanted faster starts, but also how he put a lot upon himself in the offseason and just the demeanor that it's felt like he's attacked this season. So the fast start obviously would be great, but I think this team is ready to get off to a fast start, and that's going to be the most important thing. A little bit about Western Michigan before we go a little offense defense here, and it actually brings up a great question from Stu Redmond here in the live comments section. I did want to bring this up first before we get into a little bit of specifics, offense defense, again with week one, not knowing a ton about the opponent, no tape. But Stu Redmond asked us in the live chat thoughts on Western going 2 QBs, and this is another point that I think we need to hit on, because when we talk about unknowns, obviously we don't know a ton about personnel, whether they transferred in. We don't know a ton about what they've tweaked over the offseason, but going 2 quarterbacks is I don't want to say advantage for Western Michigan, but it does bring another challenge to everything that the defense has to put in and install during the week, right? Because they have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks on top of some of the other unknowns in here. So if anything, I just feel like this creates a chance for Western Michigan maybe to create an advantage early. Maybe that's through a trick play. Maybe that's through some type of busted, read from the defense, just because it's something that they truly won't expect. But again, to Brian's point, I feel like in week one, there are so many different in-game adjustments that happen that can run out pretty quickly. But that would be my biggest point of worry here with Western going 2 different quarterbacks. And they play a little bit of 2 different styles there, one being a more traditional passer and one being a dual threat guy.
Yeah, I agree to that, or I agree with that to an extent. I feel like it's more telling of Western not really knowing what kind of quarterback they have or what kind of guy they want to go with because neither guy really rose to the top during camp. So I feel like it's maybe a slight edge towards us. They may have a couple like trick plays at the beginning with two quarterbacks that could catch us off guard, but they'll probably start with two quarterbacks and then I would guess play the hot hand. I'm not a huge fan of a two quarterback system, but I feel like it's more of an advantage to us just because we're able to kind of attack both guys and they have to figure out which one's the best one.
Yeah, you kind of read my mind. I mean, someone said it when we were in college. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't really have a college, or you don't really have a quarterback. And that's so true. Like, find me a team that played two quarterbacks equal amount, and they were successful. Like, they were a good team. It's gonna be tough to find. So I think, kind of like we said, Brian, it's gonna be to our advantage. Yes, it's a little tougher to prepare for Michigan State, but in the long run, I don't think it's gonna be that beneficial for Western to go with the two quarterback system.
Agreed. I mean, long term, I don't think it's any advantage. I'm just saying early on in that game, there could be a time where, you as a defense run into a little bit of an issue. But over the course of the game, Brian, to your point, they're going to find the hot hand. It's not going to be a platoon system unless they do that, which I think is an even worse idea of just assigning series, right? So let's talk offensively for Michigan State. And I want to focus on, when we're talking offense and defense through a Michigan State lens, because as we'll continue to say, some of the uncertainty with Western Michigan on both sides of the ball. And Brian, you had hit it in the open. Game one and these games against lower level opponents, there are really times where you need to focus on you. And we've talked about it through the years of this podcast when we go into some of these lower games, is you want to see a clean product out of your team. You want to see them being able to do what they do, right? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work one series, right, that's fine. If it doesn't work two series, that's fine. But you want to be able to do what you do because you've gone all offseason preparing yourselves for the season. And of course, there's going to be game plan specific stuff week in, week out. But specifically week one, especially if you're playing an opponent at a Western Michigan level to where, yeah, they could be a good team in the MAC. But at the end of the day, if you're Michigan State and you have all these aspirations and you want to prove that you're a better team, go out and show it. So I'll just preface that before we talk offensively and defensively. But what is one thing that you're kind of paying the most attention to when it comes Friday night with this offense? What would you like to see, Brian, you watching the game? What is your kind of biggest focus that you're going to be looking at on Friday night offensively?
Yeah, I think a couple things: minimizing the pre-snap penalties. That's always an issue in the first game. You're trying to figure out, it's first time in a real game experience of the year, you're trying to figure out how to line up and how to get situated. So making a clean transition from the huddle to the line of scrimmage is key. I think I want to see Aiden Childs have a plan for every play. I've said this on other pods that I've been in, and I feel like just as a quarterback, you have to be able to have a plan for every play, know what I'm going to do in this situation, know every check down, know every route that you have available on this play, know if you're stepping the right direction in the run game. So I want to see Aiden Childs not make any mental errors as far as that comes and be able to diagnose the defense to the best of his ability. And if it doesn't work, take off and run because he has some very good legs.
Hey, yo. A couple of things I'm watching out for. Definitely the negative plays throughout the game. Got to keep those to a minimum. That was an issue last year. Stalling drives. You had a good thing going, whether it was a penalty, like you said, Brian, or if it was just a big negative play. Got to keep those to a minimum for sure. And obviously, I'm an O-line guy, so I'm going to be watching the O-line. I'm not going to say they have to be dominant this first game, but they need to dominate. Like you're playing a Western team that's not projected to do very much in the MAC this year. And regardless of the MAC team, it's still a MAC team. You need to impose your will. We've talked about it before. I think, Dante, you've harped on it before. You got to impose your will. You should be bigger, faster, stronger. And this team, they need to just get on them from the jump, wear them down.
For me, the biggest thing offensively that I'm going to be watching and cued in on, it's not a down-to-down thing, but this is going to be, I think, the theme of our season because it was our biggest struggle last year. It's red zone offense. When we get in the red zone, how are we going to attack? And this even is heightened even more now with the kicker news that has come out this week or in the past week, talking about how the two guys that were vying for the starting job, they're now, one is a game time decision, one is out. So what is going to be the red zone plan of attack? Are you going to focus on the run game? You certainly can't have turnovers in the red zone. You need to come away with points. But ideally in this game, with the situation that it is, you need to be efficient in the red zone and you need to score touchdowns. And I really think that starts, and Tyler, you talked about it and you hit on it, talking about imposing your will in the offensive line. That's going to be where it has to start, because you can't have negative plays in the red zone that gets you to a 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13, to where you're in an automatic pass down or you're in a rushing down and you're going to have some type of long third down play, right? Because I think the mode of attack is going to have to be, when you're in these red scoring areas, you're going to have to go for it unless it's an obvious like 4th and 8, 4th and 9, 4th and 10, where you just don't want to give away 3 points. You got to trust your kicker to some standpoint. But I really think red zone offense for me, I'm going to be very interested to see how they attack. It should have been, and it probably was, a ginormous point of emphasis in the offseason. And it's just going to be my biggest thing I'm watching offensively throughout this game. So anything else? I did want to talk about opening script. And I know we've gotten some comments in the comment section talking about how we're going to get this thing rolling. Brian, you talked about seeing a deep shot early. What would you guys like to see out of the opening script? Because I feel like last year we were very complimentary of Lindgren early in the game, our offensive coordinator. But as the game kind of progressed on, it seemed like whether it was creativity or just things not working as well throughout the game, what we were calling in certain situations kind of started to shift away from that. So from an offensive play calling standpoint, kind of what would you like to see from a opening script on the plays that we all script up? The offense knows exactly what they're going to run throughout that first script, or if everything goes on cue, exactly what they're going to run. And then what would you kind of like to see them build towards? What would you like to see them show throughout the point of a game to where it gives you some confidence going forward with the new receivers, offensive line, Childs, and other year development? What is it that you're looking for play calling wise, and what they would like to get to on Friday?
I think opening script wise, some quick hitters to the new receivers, get Nick Marsh involved early, get Krishan McCray involved early, maybe some jet sweeps or some quick bubble passes, let them use their athletic ability to make some plays. And as far as it goes into the game, a good OC is able to call a good script because he has all week to prepare for it with his other coaches, with the players. But a great OC is able to make those play calls in game and be able to adjust what the defense is doing to them. So I don't know, just kind of find their identity, whether it be with Aiden Childs in his new receiver room making some throws. Maybe that's our identity with some younger running backs, or maybe we try and ground and pound and get that ball rolling through the run game. So whatever it is, just kind of keep rolling with it and keep sticking with it and put some points on the board is the main thing.
Yeah, I definitely want to see. I think one thing I want to see is a lot of pre-snap motion, make things as clear as possible for Childs to really distinguish what's going on with the defense, and just make it as clear as possible for him. I mean, talk about easy throws. Easy throws come with knowing exactly how the defense is playing and defending, and obviously it helps with a consistent run game. So I think, like I said, it starts up front. If they're able to run the ball consistently and get a push up front, it makes things a lot easier for the quarterback to make some easy throws.
I agree. Offensively, I want to see us run for 200 yards, and this is going to be my final question to the chat here. Not even to the chat, to you guys. What is the one stat, if you could see one stat other than points on the board, other than 100-0 win, what is it that you would like to see out of Michigan State on Saturday night statistically that would tell you that this is a successful offensive performance.
I think I have to agree with you with the 200 yards on the ground. That would be awesome. I think any good team starts with a good run game, and we should be a bigger team than Western with a newly revamped offensive line. And I think we'll be a little bit of running back by committee this year. So a 200-yard rushing game is kind of what I'm looking for.
I mean, I would love a 200-yard rushing game. I'm gonna stick with that.
Did we have any of those last year? Maybe the Iowa game.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Shout out our guy Nate Carter for making the 53 on the Falcons. By the way,
you know who got cut?
Who?
Donovan Edwards.
Ah, yes, I did see that.
Just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Also, one more shout out before we flip sides of the ball here. There's one Western Michigan Bronco that we are familiar with, and believe it or not, we also played with him back in 2019. Tate Halleck will be starting for Western Michigan at safety. Tyler, I think it was you that had mentioned that today. I can't believe he's still in college. You know what? Good for him. Great guy, great family. I just couldn't believe that you had said, I think you said 7 years. I think you were right on that as well.
Well, he's been in school. I don't know if I guess he didn't play 20 or 21, but I was looking at their depth chart today. His name popped up, and I was like, wow. So I clicked on him, went to an ESPN profile. He was a freshman when we were seniors, obviously, in 2019. So if you do the math, this will be his 7th year, which is just insane to think about.
Talk about body breaking down. Like, I said the 120 play scrimmage thing semi as a joke, and I know that, you know, there's tons of NFL players at our age. It's the prime of NFL players, right? But I can't even think about good for him. I truly rooting for him. Hope he doesn't make a ton of big plays against us, but good to see him out there. I'll always, when I see Western Michigan games, kind of look on the side of the screen to see what he's doing over there. So either way, let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Because this is what Stu had brought up earlier regarding the two quarterback system. Western Michigan also has a running back that Joe Rossi had deemed as a Big Ten back. He thinks he's a Big Ten worthy back. Brian, you had noted in 2023 in his redshirt freshman year, he ran for over 1,000 yards, 161 receiving yards as well on top of that. Last year took a step back on that side. However, his attempts were limited. He had the same exact yards per attempt at 5.3, almost the same exact touchdowns. In 2023, he had 10 touchdowns. Last year, he had 9, but he only had 128 attempts last year. So Western Michigan on offense, more of a power spread, will try to run the ball a lot. But again, with the two quarterback system, I don't know exactly what they're going to throw out. As I had said, 2 different guys that will rotate in there. One's more of a runner, one's more of a thrower. I feel like that's a very, very common occurrence upon when these quarterback battles are going on. Either way, this is Michigan State centric, and we need to see this defensive line get after whoever quarterback is playing for Western Michigan.
100%, and I think that's kind of the key. Get some push up front. That's another good tell of a great team is being able to control that front seven defensively. And kind of what I'm looking for as well is obviously the secondary hasn't been one of our strong points on the defense for the past couple of years. Being able to limit that, I mean, I don't think Western's going to be throwing the ball around for 400 yards against us, but being able to limit the ball through the air, I think is going to be key not only for this game, but also throughout the season, as you know, we're going to play some big time teams that are going to be able to throw the ball. So being able to limit that, I think is going to be a big key for us.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about the back end this week, just because of what we talked about with what Western has at quarterback. I want to see this front seven get after the quarterback. I want to see how these linebackers tackle in space. Tackling is always a big issue the first couple weeks of the season, not just for us, but for every team around the country, because you really don't want to go full to the ground that much during training camp, just because you're trying to limit injuries and all that kind of stuff. So I want to see how we tackle. I'm expecting it to not be great, but maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the defensive line. For me, it's how these linebackers are used. I'll keep referring to a couple of the quotes that I heard from some media availability from either side coordinator, Joe Rossi or Brian Lindgren. But obviously, defensively, talking about Joe Rossi, he had talked about how this is one of the deeper linebacker rooms that he's ever been a part of, which I think I read that in a good light. We know that Jordan Hall is going to be a staple in there. We know that Wayne Matthews is going to be a staple in there. Um, but outside of that, it's going to be interesting for me to see how they rotate them in and out. I don't know if it's a package based system, which I would assume it is. Tyler, you had talked about Darius Snow in our Michigan State pregame or preseason podcast preview. Just how they utilize some of those guys and the different packages that they throw them out in there is going to be very fascinating to me. I think Jordan Hall is going to be one of your only 3-down backers. Wayne Matthews probably in the mix there as well. But how they rotate those linebackers is going to be very important for me to kind of get my eye at. Defensively, I also want to talk about turnovers. We know that offensively we were bad at taking care of the ball last year, but turnovers on defense, we haven't gotten as many of them. And now obviously we're talking about the defensive line not getting any sacks, so that doesn't help. So that takes out automatically your strip sacks, forced fumbles on that end. But turnover wise, being a negative, I believe it was -5 last year, one of the worst in the country. This defense has to be more aggressive. We talked about how are they going to create more pressure, create more chaos for offenses. That's going to be the biggest thing that I'm looking at, is how, outside of just the linebacker rotation, but what Joe Rossi's plan is to really create more chaos for offenses and not make it as easy on them.
I like that. I got nothing else defensively.
All right. What is one position group? And I know, Brian, you had talked about the DBs, but specifically, is there one other position group or just one thing you will be watching on defense outside of how some of the coverage is holding up, whether it's run defense, whether it's how we attack, how we get aggressive on the pressure front, or is it just strictly the defensive backs?
I would say more so just pressure up front is kind of what I'm looking for. I don't want these quarterbacks, either one of them that's playing, to have a lot of time to throw the ball or a lot of time to really think or do anything. I think the Spartan Stadium atmosphere is going to play a factor into that as well. Crowd will be loud first game of the year. So disrupt the quarterback, get a little pressure up front, make him make some poor decisions, get a couple turnovers here and there. I think that'll be definitely a big key for us.
How about a special teams touchdown, punt return, kickoff return? I feel like our kicking, not necessarily punt return, but the kick return game has been non-existent past couple of years. I feel like it's just been kind of, we always talk about the hidden yardage. I feel like that's going to be maybe not big for this game, but that's something I'd like to see some improvement for this year.
Yeah, hidden yardage. I think last year, Higbee, you had talked about, you didn't realize how much of an advantage it is, even getting 5-10 yards on a punt versus a fair catch, right? If you can just get one first down, our coaches would always harp on that, whether it was punt return or kick return. If you can just get one first down, take it, go vertical, get 10 yards, you pick up a first down, makes it a lot easier on the offense. But the explosion in the special teams game, I think, should return with some of these weapons that we have added through the portal this year. Either way, special team, that is a great call. I feel like we always talk about keys to the game, and that's one of them that we always want to see because it's just such a bonus. So let's get into the keys to the game. One for everybody around the room here. Again, with it being a Western game and one that we feel like we should dominate, we should be physically imposing on these teams. What is one thing that you would like to see? I don't even want to go keys to victory here because we should feel like it's a victory no matter what. But Brian, Tyler, what's your keys to victory today?
Turnover battle is what I'm going to say. I think offensively, I don't want to see any more than one turnover. Like, you may have one slip up, you may have one mistake that results in turnover, but I don't want any more than one. Hopefully 0 would be ideal. And then defensively, create a couple turnovers, be +2, +3 in the turnover margin is what I'm looking for. And I think if you're plus one in the turnover margin, your odds of victory go up. If you're plus 2 or 3, it goes up by like 80 to 85%. So winning that turnover battle, I think, is going to be the key not only to this game, but obviously throughout the entire season as well.
One thing I'm curious to see real quick before I answer that question, I talked about special teams, but hopefully it doesn't come down to kicking this week. But I am interested to see how we replace Jonathan Kim and who takes the reins on that for the season. But red zone efficiency, you talked about it earlier, Dante. I want to see this team get in the end zone, not settle for field goals, and not shoot themselves in the foot to make it even harder to score. So I'm looking for red zone efficiency, finish drives, get 6, 7 points, not 3.
Agreed. For me, it's the rushing. It's the rushing differential. I think that leads into time of possession. That leads into ball control that we're looking at. So one of the biggest things that I would like to see is rushing differential, which by just through the way of controlling the ball, the time of possession as well, because that's one of the big things we always focused on. It was one of our on the red-green chart that we would show after games, right? If your time of possession was X, you got yellow, green, whatever it may be. But that's one of the biggest things I want to see that factors into the offensive line, that factors into the overall offensive efficiency. But one of the biggest things I would like to see is rushing differential. That about does it. We have one more. What do you have something, Brian, or do you?
No, I was just saying, agreeing with you.
We have one more order of business before we are done here today. Previous records in previous seasons.
Only one of us was positive last year. I'll say that.
Bad year for us.
It's been very, very bad for this guy here in general, but that's no coincidence. It's just always bad during football season. But Brian and Tyler, I think Brian got back to 500 last year. Tyler was over 500. This is our lock section. It's a brand new year, new slate. We need to give out winners this year. I will not settle for anything more or less than 8-4. I do have a proposed change. We're not going to implement it now because we didn't talk about it. I feel like we should be giving 3 picks to the biggest games of the week.
Okay. Because
we only get 12 bites at the apple with just individual locks, which is always kind of tough. But either way, let's go around the room for our locks. One apiece. Let's give them, Brian. You start us off.
Yeah, I wanted to get some love here to the biggest game of the week, Ohio State, Texas. I'm taking Ohio State -1.5. I think this line has gone down a little bit, so people are leaning more towards Texas. I don't trust Arch Manning, and I more so just want the Big Ten to beat the SEC. And it's being played at the shoe, so everything's leaning Ohio State for me.
I feel like we're always opposite.
I was going to say, it's funny you say that because I was kind of with you until I was texting one of my Texas friends today, and he had a good argument for Texas covering and winning that game. So I'm going to stay with him and let you have that one. My lock is going to be Baylor +2.5 at home against Auburn. Baylor's been not great to me the past couple of years, so I'm giving him one more chance. I don't like Jackson Arnold with Auburn. I don't really know what Auburn's going to be this year. I do know Baylor and Dave Aranda are going to be out to prove something. I like their offense and defensive lines. I think their defense is going to be stingy. So give me the Bears +2.5 this week.
I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide against Florida State this weekend. I believe that's a Saturday game, right? It's not Sunday.
Bama?
I don't know.
I'm pretty positive it's Saturday. This not only sounds good, but it sounds even better when the starting Florida State QB talks about everything that he's going to do to Alabama, how they're not that good. About a couple months ago, that's a familiar friend in Thomas Castellanos, the former Boston College starting quarterback. I think the Mike Norvell era is going to be coming to an end this year at Florida State. So with all that said, I will be taking Alabama this weekend -13.5. The only thing I'd say now is if you're listening to this live, go take Florida State +13.5. I'm just starting the year ahead of things right now. All right. My lock is
Have some
just
confidence, man.
Huh?
Take the opposite of this
Have
guy.
some confidence.
You know what? Much like the Michigan State football team, I'll believe it when I see it, but the expectation should be there. We have struggled in the last 3 years. I always have high expectations, always have high hopes. I want to see it. That's why my expectations been so big this year. So those are our locks. That's our show. Michigan State, Western Michigan, less than 48 hours away. We couldn't be more excited to continue to bring you the podcast, the content, continue to expand into YouTube. And we will talk to you guys. I think we're going to record over the weekend, but we'll probably release it, on Sunday?
Yeah.
Something like that. Week 1's here. Go green. We'll talk to you guys next time.